Well, it is the weekend, so why don't we play the popular board game Presidential Pardon Get Out of Jail Free Card, which Trump believes he has a monopoly on, yet in this breaking story, you know, when you've sat down at Thanksgiving dinner or anything else you've been craving for a while, and you just have a little too much of a good thing, and eventually you wind up in the corner in pain. And in this breaking story, there's a very, very strong political pundit who's informing and warning Donald Trump, careful, my brother, you might stuff yourself a little too much with all of your presidential pardons. I'm going to show that story to you in just a second. Very important. Just happened. To that end, let's take a quick look at some of Trump's feasting he's been doing.
In the first months of his second term, President Trump has moved to pardon many who were considered to be loyal to him, from local Republican officials convicted of fraud to rioters at the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol.
President Trump set to fully pardon reality TV stars Todd and Chrysley after they were convicted of tax evasion and bank fraud. The president calling their daughter Savannah from the Oval Office with the news.
That's a terrible thing. It's a terrible thing, but it's a great thing because your parents are going to be free and clean, and I hope we can do it by tomorrow.
And hey, listen, if you're going to pardon a couple for simplistic stuff, why not go after a corrupt sheriff like this?
President Donald Trump has pardoned yet another loyalist who found himself in hot water with the law. We're talking about former Virginia Sheriff Scott Jenkins. He was convicted on fraud and bribery charges in March, sentenced to 10 years in prison. Well, a jury found him guilty of deputizing businessmen in exchange for cash in his county, but instead, President Trump's pardon power makes Jenkins a free man.
And of course, no doubt how proud Trump was to just blindly wipe away 1,500 people associated with January 6th. This.
First, we have a list of pardons and commutations relating to events that occurred on January 6, 2021.
And how many people is this?
I think this order will apply to approximately 1,500 people, sir.
So this is January 6th. These are the hostages. Approximately 1,500 for a pardon. Full pardon.
The New York Times published new details about the pardon of a Florida businessman convicted of tax evasion.
Oh, and it always gets better, especially when you want to get some folks out of some deep monetary trouble and your buddies in the wonderful state of Florida, like this.
A report from the New York Times found that the Trump administration pardoned Paul Walssac after his mother, Elizabeth Fago, attended a $1 million per plate fundraising dinner for the president's super PAC. 3 weeks after the dinner, the president signed the pardon, getting Walssac out of an 18-month prison sentence and a $4 million restitution payment.
And this is so typical of Donald J. Trump, because once he goes, if no one stops him, he will go to the end all the way. But in this breaking story, that end may just wind up blowing up in his face right here.
Joining us now, George Conway, conservative lawyer and president of the Society for the Rule of Law. You know, I'm going to start right at Blanche because he just spent 2 days, Deputy Attorney General spent 2 days in Tallahassee, Florida. I want to play some sound, though, to kind of color the conversation. Listen to this.
I now consider you a friend and someone who I know pretty well. You are the best out there.
Now, George Blanche's friend that he's saying there is Maxwell's attorney. Explain to me and
to
Jonathan and the people at home why the Deputy Attorney General, who has bigger fish to fry, it would seem, is spending 2 days in Tallahassee, Florida, by himself, interviewing and talking to a convicted trafficker.
Because he's a criminal defense lawyer. Okay, and he has a criminal who he represented last year and continues to represent. And what he's trying to do is act on behalf of his client, who he views to be Donald Trump and not the United States of America. And that's why this man, why it was so unusual, so bizarre for a Deputy Attorney General to interview a witness and to interview this particular witness. Because the only reason why you'd want to interview this witness, and I don't think it makes sense, but the only reason why you'd want to do that is to create some kind of a diversion from the fact that they are refusing, the Justice Department is refusing to release the Epstein documents because guess who is in them?
And so all of this is a huge distraction because they want to pretend that they're turning over every stone and looking under every rock. But for the public, There's a huge amount of information that could be disclosed right now by the government, and they're not doing it.
President Trump was asked about pardoning Maxwell. He said, I'm allowed to do it, but it's something I have not thought about. We asked Teresa Helm, who's one of the survivors of Epstein, about that just a bit ago, an hour ago now.
Her presence and her approach to me was so meticulously calculated. Her intention behind all of this, it was all to fool me and believe that I was in as I said, a safe and healthy environment, when actually she was setting me up to then go into tragedy.
So, George, a lot of people are talking about a pardon. Do you think that we're going to see some kind of pardon or clemency here? Is that why Todd Blanche spent 2 days talking to this woman?
It's the only reason I could think of why they would be doing this, is to trot something out that she says that somehow makes him either not the subject or exonerates him in some fashion. And that's the only reason why you could think of doing it. But it's absolutely, positively insane. And we know Donald Trump is not afraid to grant pardons to people he thinks helped him in some way, particularly in the testimonial way. But let's stop there for a minute. And Andrew can't play this game. Okay, we're going to play a little quiz game here for the two journalists here who know everything.
And non-lawyers.
All right, non-lawyers. All right, what did Roger Stone and Manafort get charged with, and what were they found guilty of?
I mean, that's like a decade ago. I can't even remember. Was it
see, that's why we do. Right? It's hard. You will always remember what Ghislaine Maxwell was convicted of. That's the point. And it's very simple. And it's also very simple too. It's like, it's worse than just this abstract, this went on for years. This was 1,000 victims. Two of the women they were girls when they were molested. Two of the victims who testified, or two of the four who testified at trial, were 14-year-old girls when Epstein had sex with them. And Ghislaine Maxwell was right there, telling them what to do, how to do it, taking their passports away so they couldn't get off Epstein Island. This is not going to work for Donald Trump. Okay, he does this. He's pushing a big bomb to blow himself up. But, he's thoroughly capable of doing it. He's a moral maggot who has absolutely no capacity for shame or empathy or remorse. All he cares about is what he thinks will get him to the next day.
Because let's be clear, it's one thing to pardon third-party rioters, despite the level of treason and despite the level of disgusting that January 6th was. It's another thing to pardon a couple of people who support your campaign or put money in your pocket. It's another thing to pardon someone who's a business buddy because all his pals really don't want to see him go to jail or cough up $4 million. But it's a whole other Oprah, as I like to say, when you start trying to find a way to pardon someone who is directly related to you and a 40-year history with someone like Jeffrey Epstein. And when Ghislaine Maxwell, if in any way he tries to pardon her, whoopsie poop, he may indeed be stepping on his own landmine, completely and unequivocally created and built by himself. Stay tuned and stay frosty.